This is going to be a quick video on features that I look for when I get a used or if I'm going to buy a new light stand. And the reason I'll just say at the onset that I think having a good light stand is important is to either to protect your equipment or to protect people that might be on your set. So hi, my name's Steve. I'm an amateur photographer. I enjoy using old studio equipment, maybe 20 or 30 years old. I also enjoy using, in conjunction with that, older grip equipment, so old light stands or C stands, solid professional tools that ensure that my flash heads or monoblocks and modifiers stay in an upright position. So the stand that I've picked is a small one. It's a kit stand. It is made by or marketed by a company called RE, and they're primarily a lighting company. And this stand, I don't even think you can buy it anymore. But the model number, in case you're interested, it is AS01. And what I would like to do is to kind of go through some of the key things that I look for when I pick up a stand. So the first is going to be related to whether I can raise or lower the stand all the way to the ground. And what I mean by that is that there is a center column, and the center column is typically going to be in the position that you see in this photo here. So by that I mean that it's going to typically not be sitting on the ground. And if you look closely at this photo here, you'll see that there's two adjusting knobs. And if you loosen both of those, you can actually lower the center column to the ground. And that's going to right away do two things. One is it's going to add some stability because you have 4 points as opposed to just the 3 legs on the ground. And the other is it's going to reduce the minimum height of the stand. And sometimes getting that height of the stand to a lower level can be helpful. So the way if you tell if your light stand can do this or not is to simply take a look at the braces, and if there is a knob that allows you to tighten or untighten the braces, then you know that that feature is available. Any of the more expensive light stands that typically you'd find used in motion, so in film or videos, that's automatically going to come with that feature. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the way that the spreaders attach to the legs. And on the nicer stands, you'll find that there's a couple of pieces of plastic between the spreader and the leg. And what that allows is it just makes it a little bit smoother, if you will, in my opinion, to open and close the legs. And while we're looking at it, another feature that I would look for is that nothing is permanently attached to the stand. So by that I mean that if I wanted to take these spreaders off, let's say I wanted to replace a leg, then there's screws and bolts that I can unscrew. And a lot of these stands, you can go to the manufacturer and they will have replacement parts for you. And you can see that this one's really pretty beat. I mean, you can see that it's been nicked up. It was used by a videographer who traveled a lot. I picked it up used from that individual. It's perfectly working condition. Nothing's bent or everything rises to the place that it needs to go. And here you could probably see that there's some screws holding the legs to the actual collar. And then the last thing, I guess, that I would talk about or the last two things are going to be on the light pole itself, or the center column. So here, those two screws or knobs are actually attached to a collar, and the job of the collar is to connect one tube to the other. So, on a light stand, the top tube is going to be the most narrow. The next tube down is going to be a little bit bigger. The tube below that's going to be even bigger. And you have to attach one tube to the other, and then you have to be able to have a mechanism that allows the tubes to rise up or to contract down. And what a collar does is it's solid metal, and there's a break inside of the collar, and you actually can there's an indent screw to screw it in, or in the case of the collar, to raise the pole, there's a knob. And in conjunction with the collar being solid metal and then the brake feature, it just really ensures that the pole is not going to collapse. The alternative to this, and you'll see it on the lower end light stands, is a feature where there might be some screws and a bolt, and you actually are clamping one collar to the other or one pole to the other. And my experience has been that sometimes those screws come loose, and you don't always get a super strong bite or a super strong connection between the two poles, and so that to me introduces the idea that it might fail if I put a load on it. And in fact, I've had that happen. So those are just quick thoughts on this. There are many other things that you can take a look at. And well, I'll come back and talk about one of them quickly here. I like to have the baby pin on top of my light stands to be flat at the top. I don't like there to be a screw sticking out. If I need to connect a strobe, or not a strobe, but a speed light, I can always put a grip head on and then put a baby pin that's got the appropriate screw to connect to one of my speed lights. But the reason I like it flat is that means that the flash head or the monoblock that I put on my light stand has a very firm and solid place to sit. Otherwise, if there's something sticking out from the top, like a screw, it can skew sometimes how the flash head is going to be sitting on the stand, and it just makes it a little bit less stable. So the whole idea behind this, for me at least, is, I want everything to be secure. I want the flash head to be secure on the stand. I want the rising poles to be secure so that they don't collapse. I want the legs to be secure and, as preferably as wide as possible, so that I have the most stability. But I guess going back to my original thought, there are many different things that you can look for when you're buying a stand. I would encourage you to not pass over buying a good one. If you think about it, it's going to be protecting equipment. It's going to be protecting people that might be on your set, and they don't wear out. This is a great example of one that's probably 15 years old and was used day in and day out. It's been on a plane, and it's perfectly fine. They make them out of aluminum, which is the one you're looking at now, but you can also get them made out of steel. And those are even nicer, but they're not as portable. So if you're looking into these, or if you're trying to find them used, it's not always the easiest thing to find. For some people, or for some reason, people hold on to their stands. They don't tend to resell them. At least that's my experience. And if you're going to buy one new, then the companies I would think about would be Matthews Studio Equipment. They're in California. American Grip is also based in California. One that would be in Europe, but you can buy them in the United States as well, is called Avenger. And then one that is made in Asia, but is also available, at least I know it's available in the United States, is called Kupo, Kupo. All of these make equipment that is meant to go into rental houses. And a lot of these stands are actually made to go on film or TV or motion productions. And so if it's rented out or if it's used in that kind of a capacity, it needs to stand up to a fair amount of abuse, and it needs to work. And so that's the hallmark that I look for. I don't mind spending a little bit more money on it. This grip equipment, it's the kind of stuff that you buy it once and you forget it. It's not like a camera, which you may be tempted to upgrade. Not like a lens, which you may be tempted to upgrade. It'll be there as long as you want to use it. So it tends to be a good value.